I'm just making it aware that this project, this platform is for whomever who suffered trauma and want to talk about how you transition to the other side and you're now living in triumph. And let's talk about triumph really quickly. Triumph doesn't always mean that you're wealthy. Triumph, in most cases, simply means you went through life trauma, you made it to the other side, and you are still alive and healthy, of sound mind. You can still use your heart to love and feel. That's triumphant for many of us. Some of the things that we've gone through are very, very traumatic. And just the mere fact that we're still able to talk about it is a form of triumph. So if you or you know someone has gone through life trauma at any time of your life, and you want to share your story of how you transition from trauma to triumph, please submit your story on my website. It's www.trauma2Triumph.com. You can send me an email. The email address is info@trauma2Triumph.com. So without further ado, let's get to tonight's guest so that we can talk about another amazing story, journey of trauma to triumph. All right. And listen, if you're on here, please feel free to share this with others. There's a little arrow down there in the right, I think it's the right bottom corner. It looks like a little arrow. You can actually hit that, and then you can click on a few people that in your followers, and you can share it so that some other people can watch with you and watch with us.
Hello.
So hello, Sharon.
I'm great. How are you, Terry?
I'm doing amazing.
Oh,
You look
thank
really,
you.
really
So do
pretty. I
you.
just had to say that. You look really pretty. I'm trying to adjust my thing. I feel like, let's see. There we go. I think that's better. I like that better because that way the top of my head
I'm
isn't
doing
chopped
good.
off. How are you doing?
Good. I was in there about to doze off though, so I was like, let me get up. How you just be sitting around,
Well, let me first thank you. Thank you so much for your
Oh, of course.
of being a part of this amazing
Sure.
project. I appreciate it. And let's get right to it. What I always do every week is I allow my guests an opportunity to, I've already introduced you, but it was a very brief introduction. And so I would like for you to take an opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about who you are today, and then we will go back and let's talk about your journey.
Okay, my name is Sharon Mcdougle. I'm regarded as a modern-day hidden figure. I worked with the Space Shuttle program for 22 years in the Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment Department with the orange astronaut suits. So I was suiting up and taking care of the astronauts for 22 years. And prior to that, I'm an Air Force veteran. And I suited up the SR-71 pilots and the U-2 pilots while I was in the Air Force and traveled the world in support of the missions. And of course, a mom and a wife,
Sharon.
and soon to be grandmother.
Wow. You are doing some amazing things. Yes, you are you are on my list of Black
So
Sheroes. Yes. So Sharon, where you are now isn't where you've always been. We know that. And we know that our journeys to where we are today did not come easy. And so let's talk about as far back as you want to go. I'm going to leave it in your hands. Let's talk about your journey and your life and when trauma was the onset of trauma for you. And let's talk about how you transitioned through that trauma.
What they always say, you see the glory. Oh, you had that awesome job, but they don't know the story behind that. So it starts off, I'm number 9 of 12 children. Yes.
Wow.
From a small town, Moss Point, Mississippi, right on the Gulf Coast. My father passed away when I was 4 years old, so I didn't really know him. I have one memory of him is when he came home from fishing, I assume, and had a horseshoe crab running around on the ground. And I was scared, and I jumped up and I was standing on his shoe, holding onto his pant leg. That's it. I don't remember anything else about my dad except a couple of pictures I have, you know.
Wow.
And so after that, since I was so young, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
really traumatize me, right? And it's a lot of other people in the house. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
You're number
So
9 of
it's a
12.
lot of people.
Whew.
And you know, back then the houses were a lot smaller too. So yeah,
Okay.
we were on top of each other. And so I'm a normal
Mm-hmm.
kid, you know, I don't know what's going on. I play and go, you know, hang out and stuff. At the time I wasn't in school yet, of course. So around after my dad died, we moved to another house, a bigger home. And things, you know, like I said, my happy childhood, I was like, hey, I didn't know if we were rich, poor, or what. I was just a happy kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved school.
Just a
I was
happy
in
kid.
we called it Head Start, not kindergarten. I was in Head Start. And I was around 5 years
Mm-hmm.
old, and then 6 years old, I finally got to go to big kid school. So I was excited. I was one of those kids that loved books even before I went to school. Always in my big brother's book, just ready, you know, like, oh,
Yes.
I'm missing out. I need to be there. I need to be able to read and write and do, you know. And so we get to school, and everything's just wonderful. My mom is actually working in the cafeteria along with my husband's mom. We're from the same hometown, and so I would see my mom every day because they're serving the food and stuff. And I've just had love my mom, girl. You wouldn't even
Uh-huh.
know there were other kids in the family. That was my mama. She didn't, nobody else. That was
I know
it. And I
that's
felt the
right.
adoration from her. And you know, like you go to the store with your mom and all of these, like, oh, she's so cute. She looked just like you and all this stuff. So I'm just, I was rich. You couldn't tell me we wasn't rich. Like you said, it's not about the money and everything. I was just so happy that my mom loved me so much and always took me to the store with her and everything. You know, and she would just be so proud when people would say things, you know, and she was like the most beautiful to this day. She is still the most beautiful woman in this world. Oh my gosh. You know how you just look at somebody
Mm.
and I know I had the little hearts in my eyes. Anyway, I'm happy. And so first grade
Yes.
goes by as good. Second grade comes up, and that's when the trauma starts. So I'm in the yard one regular day playing, you know, da 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 da, happy, happy, happy. And my mom gets her purse. She's getting ready to go. And every time I see her get her purse, I always go and it's time. That's a cue for me to jump in the car, right? I'm the only child.
Right.
So I jump in the front seat. And it's one of those big old-timey station wagons. You know, that's the original minivan, right? The big ones. I mean, steel. These
Remember.
aren't these little plastic cars we got
Yeah.
nowadays. Serious car. So I jump on the front seat. I remember like it was yesterday, girl. Had my legs folded up under me. I had a box of Cracker Jacks. I'm eating them. She gets in with her purse and the keys. And she kind of sits back and she looks over at me and she smiles. And then she said, you stay here this time. Girl, I started acting like I was going to cry. And she gave me that mama look. And I was like, okay, let me get my butt out this car.
Right.
Yeah, you better suck it up.
Tears up.
And she's like, you stay here this time. She's never told me to stay before. She always, when I jump in the car, I just go with her, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long goes by. I'm 7. You know, I'm in the 2nd grade. Maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm a little kid. And then all of a sudden, we hear sirens. And it's a small town. You know, it's not a city block. The little blocks are small, you know. So probably you could hear the sirens. They were really close. And it was probably about 3 blocks from our house, if I remember correctly, something like that. And so the big kids, they run down to where the ambulance sound, the sirens are coming from. And they say, you stay in the yard. And of course, I stay in the yard. And I'm just still playing, you know, in the dirt and stuff, just being a kid. And I still don't know what's going on. And so everybody's coming back. People looking kind of sad and stuff. And I still don't know what's going on. Later on that evening, there's a lot of people coming over. I think it's a party. You know, I'm a little kid. It's a party going on. They're bringing food, but they're not looking happy. They're looking real somber. So finds out my mom was killed in a car accident right down the street from our house. She didn't make it back home. This is my life right here. This is, girl, and it's like every time I tell it, I'm like, I think I would be not getting choked up by now, you know, but it's still, I have to catch myself, and, you know, that voice started trembling and stuff, so I'm trying to keep it together. So my mom gets killed, right? Everybody's running around doing stuff. I still don't know what's going on. Nobody took the time to take the little ones and sit them down and tell them that mama's gone to heaven or mama's been killed. Or not, you know, we don't know.
So, but this
She
is the same day that
knew
you were
something
going to
was going to
go with
happen. That's
her.
what I was about to get back to. She knew something was going to happen. She never told me to stay home. She saved my life. My mama saved my life. She gave me life, and then she saved my life. Okay. And so, grown folks are getting stuff together. Mind you, I still don't know. I still don't know. I'm just telling you, to let you know what's happening. I still don't know what's going on. So I guess maybe a couple days went by, and I'm wondering where she is, but I'm not really thinking too much of it because I'm a kid, and like I said, there's a bunch of people in the house. So, I'm thinking maybe mama, and I really don't have no really sense of, I don't recall having a sense of like 24 hours have went by and all, I don't know all that. So we're getting dressed. Everybody's dressing up kind of like we're going to church. And we walk into this building, which was the funeral home. And all the kids have to go to the very front row. I still don't know what's going on. I just know it feels sad. Something's, and we walk into this room, and I see this long box laying in front of the room. And I could kind of see, but I'm not, you could kind of see like the outline of the face. And I was like, it looks like my mom, but not all the way like her, And then I keep looking, and I realize that's my mom laying in that box. And I've never been to a funeral, so I don't know about nothing. We weren't grown kids. We were actually little kids back then. And I immediately, when I saw her, I immediately covered my face and held my face down the whole time. And I sat with my sister, and I had my face in her lap the whole time because I realized where my mama is, and she's not coming home. And so, oh, girl, I know I'm trying not to. So, get through the funeral, and I didn't talk. I know it probably was about a week. I just couldn't. I couldn't understand why God took my mom. I mean, He already took my dad, and like I said, I didn't really remember that, so it didn't affect me that much. But my mom was perfect. Why? Is He punishing me? Why did He take my mama? All these other people, bad people in the world, and He takes my mama, the person that I idolize, I adore, the reason that I feel like I'm on she is the reason I'm on the earth, but the reason that I feel like I even want to be around. So I didn't speak for a long time. Like I said, I think with my little kid mind, I think it might have been about 4 days to a week, but I wouldn't talk. And mind you, I was a very vibrant child, very loved school, that kid that raised their hand and just love everybody and love everything. And I totally changed. And of course, I was depressed. I didn't know what it was at that time, of course, but I was depressed. I remember lying in the bunk bed just staring up, and I would just see a bunch of crosses. I don't know what that meant to this day, but it was just like crosses were just floating all the time. And I would just be staring up and just kind of like mute. Just, it's like I wasn't even there. I was a shell. And this went on, and then, I had to go live with my sister, and it was a lot of us, so we had to split up, and the older ones took in the younger ones. They didn't want to split up the family. And so I ended up staying in Moss Point with my oldest sister and her family, and she was married with 5 kids already, and they were all younger than me, and I'm 7. So I went from 2nd grade to living maid, pretty much. I became like the woman of the house. Because it was my sister's mom too, mind you, and I'm sure it affected her just like it affected me, maybe more because, she knew mom more, And so all of a sudden, mind you, I've never done any chores because I'm number 9 of 12 kids. I'm a little kid. All of a sudden, I'm standing up at the stove, and my sister's trying to show me how to cook. I got the pot lid, and it's kind of funny, but it was sad. And she's got the chicken frying, and I got this pot lid and I'm crying the whole time, and I'm with this fork because I've never done none of this. And this grease is popping and hitting me, and right. I'm like, this is torture. Why do I have to do this? I'm not a grown, in my little mind, I'm like, why am I being punished again? You already took my mama, now I got to be a slave? Because I was doing everything, Terry. I was doing everything. And this went on until I left from high school. But anyway, so we had the whole deal where I had this chair was my friend. This chair I had to put up to the stove, and I'd be trying to fry and cook. She showed me how to cook something, and I had to start. I had to do it. And then, sometimes the washing machine works, sometimes it don't. Sometimes I got to wash clothes by hand, sometimes in the machine. We didn't have a dryer. So I'd have to take my chair, my trusty chair, out to that clothesline and hang those clothes, you know, scoop my chair over, hang them clothes, go out and get them when they dry. And I would just be crying all the time. I was just sad all the time. And finally, you know, I got used to my routine, and it just was a normal part of life, right? I comb everybody's hair. I get everybody ready for school. I got to make sure I get home from school. I couldn't stay for extracurricular activities. I had to come straight back home and do my house duties. So from sun up until I went to school, and then as soon as I get off school until I went to bed, I was working all the time. Nobody else had chores. So I still don't know why. The only ray of sunshine for me, of course, I had a roof over my head, and I wasn't with strangers. I was with my older sister and her family. So thank God for that. You know, I did have a home. Sometimes I didn't get to eat because it was, you know, it was a big family, and, you know, we weren't that well to do. And so I would cook all of the food. Sometimes I would I'll fix everybody's plate. Make sure all the kids get their plate. And then I would get like the crumbs in the bottom of the skillet from frying the chicken. And I would get that and put it on bread sometimes and eat that. But at least I got something, right? But I want to make sure the little kids ate first. So just little things like that. But it went on and on. It did help make me the strong person I am today, though, you know. And I got great time management skills. I was running a household as a kid. Yeah, so I didn't get to do little kitty stuff. My sister did let me go to little dances and stuff every now and then, as long as everything was taken care of in the house. And I got all the kids to sleep before I went to the little school dance or whatever, you know. So it was like it was my family. The real sunshine at that time was my brother-in-law, because he's the only father figure I ever really knew, because, you know, my dad passed away so young. His name was Paul. My oldest sister, I love her. I loved her. She's passed on. I mean, she was doing her best. You know, like I said, she lost her mom too. So anyway, Paul was a real sunshine. My sister didn't know I had plans for Paul. I was going to marry Paul when I got older. She didn't know it. I ain't tell her that. So I would make sure I fix his lunch good. And then when he come home, I have his plate ready for him, because I had plans.
So you had a crush
I had
on
plans
your
for Paul.
sister's
He was going to be my man. I was marrying Paul when I got older. And so I would grease his scalp, girl. One day I came home, and some other girl was over there greasing his scalp. I'm like, what? Girl, I was ready to fight. I was pissed. I was like, that is my Paul. I grease his scalp, not nobody else. I had afros back then. And so I'm, like I said, I'm used to my routine now, but I just wished I could have been more of a kid. I wish I could have stayed. I could have probably been an athlete, but I didn't get to know, because I couldn't stay after school and do anything. And so,
yeah.
So Paul, you know, that was my boo thing. He didn't know it. That was my boo. But he knew I loved him to pieces. But anyway, so I'm 10 years old now. So, you know, and Paul, God does it again. I swear God did not love me as a child. I'm just telling y'all for real. He takes away somebody else that I love with all my heart. Paul gets killed, being chivalrous, trying to stop a man from beating up on his woman. I was told, yeah, my future husband.
Now,
yes, that I love. Yeah.
Your older sister,
yes,
the one that took you in,
yes.
her husband who helped raise you,
Paul, the one I was gonna marry,
got killed.
Yes, down the street, little local club. You know, they're down there, and a man's beating up on his girlfriend, is what I was told, or his wife. I don't know who she was to him. Anyway, and Paul break it up. You know, he don't beat up the man. He just break them up. So the man leaves. So they think it's over. The man comes back with a gun. Paul wouldn't even. Yeah.
Well, wait.
No.
Sister,
It was some dude in the little local club beating up a lady. I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend. And Paul
and Paul was
broke it up,
be helpful.
and he thought that was it, because the guy left. The guy came back and took away my other reason to live. And he suffered, girl. He didn't go quick like my mom did. My mom was killed. Oh, and the way I forgot to tell you how my mom was killed. Lord, this man was under the influence, and then the streets. You know how it just rained a little bit while the oil comes up off the road and makes it really slick. She was so close to home, Terry, but 2 or 3 blocks away from the house. So close. He's going so fast. He hits the driver's side, knocks her out the passenger side, and the whole bench seat comes out. And I'm told that broke her neck. So he had to be going fast. Remember, this is a real car. This is a big steel. He was so high, he didn't even know what had happened or nothing, girl. And I was told she was dead on the scene. It wasn't even anything like poor Paul having to suffer for months with this bullet going through his body that they can't get out. So he suffered from being a fine, healthy man to a shell of a man when he passed away. I think they said he was down to like 100 pounds or something. I was like, so he had to suffer, lay up in that bed and suffer all that time from being chivalrous. I'm like, so I go into the depression again. But in the second grade, let me go back, I'm sorry. In the second grade, when I went through that with my mom, like I told you, I wouldn't talk or anything. And so my sister finally said, got me to go back to school. And I just sat there, even at school. And of course, it's a small town. All grown-ups heard what happened, that my mom got killed. Mrs. Jennings, my second grade teacher, well, one of them, but she's the one that stands out. She noticed that I was totally different. She started paying extra attention to me. Because I'm at home, I'm grown now. Even though I was 7, I was older than all my sister kids. So I was a big girl. I didn't get cuddles and tickles and play with like a little kid anymore. So Mrs. Jennings noticed that, and she would always give me extra hugs, above and beyond the praise when I did something good. And this went on until she finally brought me back to my normal self, brought me out of that. So school was my refuge. Any educators out there listening, y'all please know. I know it's cliche, but they say if you can get through to that one, I was that one. So if she wouldn't have been there, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. Yeah.
But God knew
exactly.
that. God placed her. That's an angel. Those are what I call
definitely
angels
still
on earth.
To this day. Still.
You were a part of her.
And she actually, I was told that she actually wanted to adopt me because she knew my situation. But, my sister wouldn't let me go, So I was there. And so Mrs. Jennings brought me. It was a little rough. And I did everything, not the housework. I even mowed the yard. I mean, I don't know if you guys know what a sling blade is. I'll be out there sling blading grass like a grown man. I mean, I did everything. And when they took Paul away, I was just ready to go and just jump in the ground too. I was like, I didn't try to commit suicide, but I just didn't feel like I didn't even want to be here anymore, but I didn't want to kill myself. You know what I'm saying? I just and then that made this hard shell go around my heart. So I didn't want to love anybody. Because if I do, guess what? God's going to take them away from me.
Gonna take them away. So you felt like
exactly.
You felt like God didn't like
exactly. You. And that's the title of the chapter and anthology that I'm a part of. The same one that Shanette is a part of. And that was the title of my chapter. Does God love me? I really didn't my whole childhood. How could he let this happen? How could he take both my parents and then put me in a situation, and then take Paul from me, So things got better. And so I go on and I'm doing great in school. Smart kid. But I get up to high school and I'm like, depression again. What am I going to do? I don't have money to go to college. I want to go to college. I don't have money to do anything, My sister barely, have enough money to take care of us. So I'm stressed. And then another angel, my knight in shining armor, came and spoke to our class, the Air Force recruiter. Woo, thank you, Jesus. Because I don't know what I was going to, I would have still been there being a slave. But when he came and spoke to us and told us about, join the Air Force, get a job, we pay you to travel and you fly and go around the world. And I'm like, I raised my hand in the auditorium, girl. I was like, I'm ready to sign up right then. He's like, no, you can't sign up right now. On my 18th birthday, though, I think that was like November or so when he came and spoke to our class, senior class. I turned 18 on that February. I went right on down there on my birthday and I enlisted. Well, I took the test.
Yeah.
I took the test. And
wow.
of course, I was killing that test. And so that's how they use your test scores to choose what career field to place you in. And so my senior year wasn't as bad because my sister and I was getting ready to leave. So she wasn't as, like coming home right now. I got to actually do an extracurricular activity my senior year. I got to be in the modeling club, little club at school. So I got to be in a couple of little fashion shows. So, like I said, she was letting go because she knew I was leaving, regardless. So she loosened the reins a little bit and let me have a little more freedom.
Wow.
And so I left. I joined the
Mm-hmm.
military and the Air Force, and my job was aerospace physiology. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, girl, but it
Wow.
sounds fancy. I'm ready to go. Whatever it is, I'm jumping in head first. I can learn it. I'm a smart girl. I can do it, you know. And so, but like I said, I mentioned about going back into that depression in high school because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I knew I couldn't, it was more for me out there than staying in my hometown of Moss Point. I love my home, but I knew I wasn't going to, it wasn't meant for me to stay there. I knew that my current situation wasn't my
Mm-hmm.
final destination. I knew this. So I was like, it's
Yes.
time for me to make some moves. And so I went on.
So before we get to where,
Yeah.
once you got in the Air Force, whatever happened with the
Okay.
rest of your
The
siblings?
boys went to I had a sister and a brother that lived in Portland, Oregon, that were right below my oldest sister age. They were like 1 and 2 years apart. They were already out on their own, of course. And so the boys went with my brother, and then my two little sisters went with my next to the oldest sister. So I had two sisters under me, and one that had passed away at like 2 weeks old. So she was, and so like I
Okay.
said, we split up. And one of my sisters that was right above me, I think she was a senior in high school, so she stayed to finish school, of course. So
So pretty much
yeah,
all of you all were with each other, meaning like there was no one who had to go with
exactly.
a
And so they
stranger.
kept us with
Okay.
family.
Okay,
And
good.
I think my mom
Okay,
had
good.
left that written somewhere. I don't know if she had an actual will, but she wanted us to stay together. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what my oldest sister Jean was trying to do, keep us together. And my oldest sister Jean,
Okay.
I love her. I do. I love her, and I forgave her. I even had a talk with her before she passed, and she didn't even realize that it was bothering me or she was doing something wrong. Cause she just maybe
Yep.
that's how she was raised with my mom. I don't know, but she's like Sharon, you didn't have to do that stuff. I'm thinking as a kid, if I don't do this after she's trained me to do it, that she will put me out. I'll be in an orphanage. I'll be out. You know what I'm saying? In my mind,
Maybe, like you
yeah,
said, maybe that's what she
exactly.
knew, because
Yeah.
it was 12 of
And she
y'all.
probably had to do
Your
the
mom had
same
12
thing.
children.
She probably
Your
had to do the
dad
same thing.
passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said, and when she
Yeah.
said that, and she said it so sincerely, till I'm like, how could you not know that it was breaking me? It was breaking my spirit to have all these other kids here, and you're not making
Yeah.
none of your kids do any work, only me. You know? And like I said, my mom's death affected her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did. But I just didn't
Yep.
understand that. Why do you
Yep.
not make them do something? They did nothing. I did everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
you understand it a
After
little
I
bit
spoke to
better
her,
now?
that's what, like you just said, I was thinking that that's probably what she had to do. So that was normal. She didn't think it was no big deal. You know, she had to do all of that stuff while we were little. She probably had to do the same. You know, while mom's
Yep.
out working, she was in
Yep.
charge of the household. So now it's my turn. But it helped me make me who I am because
Yes.
I've said before that if my mom was alive, of course I'm not glad that my mom passed. Y'all know that. If my mom was alive, I might have been more coddled and more babied and not turn out to be the strong woman that I am. I don't know because I had to survive
Maybe.
and I had to go through all of
That's
this stuff.
right.
So it helped shape me into who I am. Yeah.
And to who you are. So you joined the Air
Oh,
Force
yes.
and you were
Oh, that was the
successful,
best thing I
right?
could have did. I actually joined because he said they paid for college. Then they gave me this amazing job. So this where the trauma
Okay.
finally ends, girl. I'm happy now. Once I got out the house. Yeah,
Right. Now we're getting
the
into the
transition.
transitioning.
So I'm an 18 little old girl from Moss Point, Mississippi, and they give me a job titled Aerospace Physiology Specialist. You can tell I wouldn't let people,
I know
girl,
that's
them shoulders
right.
was back. I was like, I'm an aerospace physiology specialist. I don't know what it, I don't know what it is,
But you didn't know what that was, right?
but it sounds good. So, yeah,
I
it was.
know
We had a
that's
short
right.
technical school. That's what it's called, tech school. After basic training, which was 6 weeks, you know, the little physical fitness and all that stuff. Then you get assigned to you get your job, of course, from your test scores, and then you go to your tech school and you finish that, and then you get assigned to your base where you're going to live and work. So everything I asked my recruiter for, even though I'm sure he wasn't the reason it happened, but still, in my eyes, he made it happen because he's a recruiter. I said, I want to go to California.
Yep.
I want to travel, and just want a great job. That's all I said. And I got all three of them. All three of them. So that's why I said God's making up to me now. He trying to show out a little bit. Because I'm still a little mad, though. I'm still a little salty with him. But he's making up. So I get this amazing job working with the SR-71 reconnaissance aircraft, the baddest aircraft out there. So I get to suit up the pilots. I take care of the pilots. I take care of their pressure suits and their helmet and their gloves, all their survival equipment, their survival kit, their parachute. I'm taking care of everything. I load the seat kit and the parachute into the aircraft. I suit up. I actually help the crew members put their suit on and then test it while they're wearing it. I take this suit apart, put it back together and everything. I mean, just everything. Yeah.
But this is stuff you had
training.
to learn.
Exactly.
You didn't know how to.
Mm-hmm.
So they trained you
on the job.
Okay.
But it was like wonderful, I knew it.
Wonderful.
I think I was just so happy to be somewhere else. Till nothing could dampen me. I'm learning everything. I'm taking it all in. And at the time, I was the only Black woman there.
Yeah.
I think they said there was a Black woman there prior to me, but she had already left. And so it was just me for a while, and then another young lady came along. And I just took to it. I was just so happy, and I was such a go-getter. And then my personality, helped a lot because I came in, I went all shy, and, I came in like I owned the place. They did. And I mean, it was just, and every 2 months, Terry. So I was stationed at Beale Air Force Base in California, and that's BEALE. Girl, my real job was working with altitude chambers and dive chambers. So that's a hyperbaric chamber and hypobaric chamber. My real AFSC is what they call it. Air Force Specialty Code, I think that's what it stood for. But that's your job. And by being stationed at Beale, the extra duty was working with the pressure suits. So if I haven't been stationed anywhere else, I've just been doing the boring chambers, which are like flight simulators. And then the other one is like on the medical side where they dive people down to have 100% oxygen to help them heal and stuff. The little chamber Michael Jackson used to sleep in, that's a dive chamber. That's a hyperbaric chamber. So I operated those and worked with those. But the fun part was the pressure suits because I got to travel because of that. Wherever the planes went, we have to go. So we can suit them up and get them strapped into the aircraft. I mean, I was so tiny, I might have been 100 pounds at the time. They had to hold my feet so I could get down in the bottom and hook up the suit and everything in the aircraft and then slide me back. But I did it, girl. I was one of the best ones there, too. And so, yeah, so I did that for 7 years. I got to travel to Greece, Japan, Korea, and England. It was a rotation. So every 2 months, I go somewhere.
This little girl from Mississippi who grew up without her parents. Yeah. You didn't have parents.
Yes, Air Force. Ooh, girl. Love Air Force. Can't say nothing bad about the Air Force. But anyway, so every 2 months. So 2 months, you have to come back home to your base just to make sure your affairs are in order. You know, ain't nothing out of order, and you get whatever training you need and updates and whatever. And they're flying from the States too. They're not just flying overseas. They fly every day at home too. So you come home 2 months, and then 2 months you're going somewhere. Yeah. Come home 2 months. This went on for the whole 7 years I was in. So I was really at the base three and a half years, not 7. It was amazing. And when you're on temporary assignment, it was called TDY, temporary duty. You don't even work every day because the plane's not flying every day like here at home, right? It was like a work vacation. Girl, it was.
Oh, that's right.
I loved it so much. Can you tell? And so, but I had another little struggle. It wasn't trauma, but it was struggle. So I decided, you know what? It's time for a change. Because my unit was starting to change a little bit, kind of turning into a retirement home. They were bringing in people that were about to retire. And then, military, I don't know how much you know, but it goes by your rank. So you can be dumb as a rock, but if you got more stripes than that other person, you're over them pretty much. And so, but I've been doing this job. I know this job. So they're bringing in this new person because they're about to retire and they got more stripes than me. And now they're all of a sudden my supervisor. They're watching over me. We got critical life-sustaining jobs, right? You're going to make sure that I did something right and you don't even know what you're doing. And that's not something they're going to kill somebody. Because there's going to be somebody that's not like me that don't have high integrity that will actually forget to hook something up. They put them with me because they know I'm going to do the job good, right? and this person don't really have to know nothing. They don't have, they just look in the cockpit. They're not even checking
Right.
connections or nothing, girl. I'm like, I could have been a you-know-what and left something unhooked on purpose to see if he gonna catch it. But I didn't do that. It did cross my mind. Because I was mad that, I was
But
mad
you
because this person don't
didn't.
even know what they're doing. Why are they out here checking my work? They don't even know what they're doing. I pretty much gave him a tour of the building, girl. And now
Right.
all of a sudden he's watching me to see if I'm doing something right. But does that make sense? No. And so that's what made me
No.
decide to go. Because I was planning on staying 20 years, girl. I was G.I. Jane. I love the airport. Love my job. Oh, my God. Loved it.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go ahead and take the early out when they offered it. And I got out. And I'm thinking, girl, I'm a bad mammal jamma. They're going to be lined up to hire me out there in the civilian world. I ain't going to have no problems. They know who I am. They didn't know who I was.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't get a job to save my life. Do you know nobody with full-time? No, because they didn't give you benefits. I'm in
Wow.
California, and it's expensive, even back in the 80s. Girl, I was like, what am I going to do? So a friend of mine was out of the country for a month on assignment, another Air Force friend, and he let me stay at his place. He said, I'm not going to be there, to stay at my place. So I stayed there for a month. And then he got back, so I had to find somewhere. And my friend, that was my roommate in the Air Force prior, she had got out before me. She had left before me. She was still in the area. So I crashed on her futon because I had no money. I had already paid my car off because I had been in, the service over 5 years. So that was paid off. That's all I owned and a few clothes. I had no furniture because I lived in a dorm.
Yeah.
The Air Force paid for it. They paid for everything. They didn't pay for nothing. So I'm like, oh my God. So I feel like I'm back in high school. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I finally got a part-time job. I felt like I was back at home, slave labor. I was putting price tags on clothes in a basement or some hot room. I did that. They would give you like 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes. It was a department store, just putting price tags on clothes with that little gun, plastic pieces, whatever. I leave there. I'd go work at Office Depot for about 4 hours, stocking the shelves. Once again, nobody will hire you full time because they don't want to give you benefits. And then at night time, before I got me a nap, because I didn't get to go to like sleep and have a good night's rest, I'd go and clean this office building that was near her apartment because I could walk to it, and I would be so tired, Lord. So I'd go clean this office building, put my Walkman on. Y'all remember what a Walkman is, right? I have my Walkman on, walking through that office building, clean it up, dump the trash, go clean the bathrooms. So I had these 3 part-time jobs for about 6 months, and I was like, this cannot be it. I actually thought about re-enlisting because I was struggling. I hadn't been to the dentist, hadn't had my, my annual checkups and stuff that I was used to getting for free in the Air Force. So you don't realize I hadn't really been adulting. I was there. Uncle Sam was taking care of me. I thought I was grown. Yeah, they took care of me. I was still a kid. So this was a call. So I'm 22.
Yeah. So how did things turn out? We've got about 10 more minutes. So I want to get to.
So 6 months passed by. I'm dead tired all the time because I got these 3 jobs continually. A friend that used to be in the Air Force with me, and this is where they say when somebody's, you don't need nobody that's he and in front of you. What are they doing when you ain't there? Are they speaking your name in that room? My friend Ray Ulo Villalobos, he was from Peru. He was one of my buddies in the Air Force. He worked with me. We did a TDY together. I think just one though. But we were good friends. And but he went on, and we lost touch because it was before cell phones and all that, And so he remembered my roommates from the Air Force, remembered her name, found her in the yellow pages of the phone book or the white page, and called her apartment girl and said, Sharon, they have an immediate opening doing the same thing we did. Same thing I did in the Air Force. Working with the space shuttle program. Just that easy. He said, call this number. He already done told him everything. That she's a hard worker, she know her stuff, blah, 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 blah. He already done set it up. Talking about having an advocate or somebody. Girl.
Look at
I told you he was making up. I told you he was trying to make up to me. I said, he's trying to be my boo now. Okay. So I called the number. It was like a cursory call. It wasn't even an interview. They was pretty much like, come out whenever you're ready. That easy.
You had a job.
Working with the space shuttle program. Started at the bottom. No college. No nothing. And made all to the top of my career before I left there. Started off, I was the first Black crew escape equipment technician, working with the astronaut suits, right? The orange astronaut suits. Then I became the first woman and first Black crew chief with no degree. Then, the last 8 years I was there, I became the manager of the whole department, in charge of suiting up the crews and getting them ready for flight, getting them suited up and getting them strapped into the space shuttle without no degree.
With no degree.
Okay, girl, you already know. You already know. The experience, and now, mind you, it wasn't given to me. I earned it because I was a hard-working woman. I earned all of it. And then I made sure that when I got into the position to pull up somebody else and take care of people, I did. I did. That department had never been so diverse as when I became manager. Yes, ma'am. Also, the military folks, like when I got there, they started us at the minimum. Even though we had 7 years, some people had 20 years experience. They started at the bottom regardless. I was able to help facilitate changing that to where the people that came from the Air Force with this training already, they at least started in the median range and worked their way up. So I did my part. So people, exactly.
You made a difference.
You got to do it. When you get in a position, don't just be fat and happy. Oh, I got mine. No, you need to be helping people out.
You got to help somebody else.
And I brought in Latinas, Black people, because it was when I got there, white.
Yeah.
White. And so I was able to bring people in. And they were, and the young Latino man, one example is he had only, because who knows what a spacesuit technician is? Nobody. I didn't until I joined the Air Force. I never heard of that, a suit technician. And so I'm like, nobody's going to be trained to do that already unless they came from the military. This young man had only worked on lawnmowers and became one of the best technicians. All you got to do is train them. If you're trainable, you can turn a screwdriver, you got to look a little sense, you can be a suit technician. Because it's only job training. It's only job training. It's not like you have to have a PhD or a degree or anything. You can be trained.
I'm about to sign my 15-year-old 3 years early.
But I love the military. And to get that job. But here's the other kicker. By having my advocates, people talk about mentors. If you don't have advocates, woo! If Ray Villalobos wouldn't have been there, I probably would have never heard about that job and still been struggling. Who knows what I would have done?
It's another angel God left on earth for you.
Yes, ma'am.
For you.
And another angel. I want to talk about my husband. We grew up together, but we didn't date or anything in school, right? We graduated the same year and everything. His mom even worked in the cafeteria with my mom. When the night we met as grown-ups, we were both visiting home at the same club when my brother-in-law got killed, actually, because it's a little local club in down in Mississippi. We were both home for the 4th of July. And he came in there and, we was like, hey. And I didn't know who he was at first, but then, it clicked. And he moved out here the next weekend. And we've been together ever since, celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. But let me tell you how God and my mama sent him. That night we met at the club. We had to, had to have some fun. So he's somehow he said his birthday, and he said August 2nd, and I probably turned white, but I felt like blood drained from my face, and I'm like, is he trying to be funny? Girl, that's my mama's birthday. His birthday, August 2nd. Did she not send him anything? Yes, we done grew up together, he done played in our yard. I never looked at him, and now all of a sudden he's grown up. He put out his license and showed me, and I almost cried. And that first thing I thought, my mama sent him to me. The best thing that ever.
And y'all been the best thing ever happened.
30 years this year. We celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary. Been together 31. Had to do that trial run. Make sure I like them, 30 years, 2 beautiful adult children. About to have my first grandbaby. Oh, so God did that. He made up then some. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah.
God did that.
And like I said, tell anybody.
Girl, your whole journey has made listen, I know. We have cried on this tonight's thing. We have cried, we have laughed, but let me tell you something. The way you have made my heart smile tonight.
Thank you. And look,
You have
Girl, I became an author after I
really,
was 50 years old. So y'all know what I say earlier? Your current situation is not your final destination. You can continue to grow even as an older person. Don't let that limit you.
your
It's not.
current situation is not your final
No matter how bad it may
destination.
seem.
No matter how bad it may seem. This, for those of you all who joined late, you are looking at a beautiful woman who lost her father at 4 years old, lost her mother who she idolized
And
at
don't forget
7 years
Paul,
old.
girl.
And then her brother-in-law who took her in, and she idolized him and was planning to marry Paul. His life got taken away as well. So you're looking at someone who grew up without her parents, took away the person who stepped in as a parent, and became a hidden
You
figure.
can do it. You can do it. And continue to grow.
Talk about
Yeah.
trauma to
Oh, don't you make
triumph,
me cry
y'all.
again, too.
Sharon, listen, this has been an
Thank
amazing,
you.
amazing journey within
It was
like
not
40
so
minutes.
fast.
And I am so grateful. I know it goes so fast, right? But that just means that you are
Yes,
supposed to be
ma'am.
a part of this. You're going to be a part of our Trauma to Triumph journey. We got some amazing
Yeah.
things to do out here in the world to heal others through the sharing of your amazing story. So this is just the beginning. I'm just
Oh,
letting you
girl,
know you're stuck with me
she
now. So we've got things to do, Sharon. Where are
in the
you
Houston
physically
area. No,
located
in the
now? Are you
Houston
in
area because
California
I had to come
still?
out here for that job. Girl, I got
You're in
out
the
here quick.
Houston
I drove out
area.
here quick for that job. I
I
have been here ever
know
since.
that's right.
Yeah. Oh, and
Okay.
my book is,
Yes. And so
it's my
I'm so
children's book.
grateful for, that's
Suit
right.
Up for
Show
Lunch
it
with Shay.
off.
That's my baby.
I love it. How can people get
Um,
a copy of your
yes,
book and
on
support
my
any other thing,
website,
everything that you're
which is
doing?
SharonCaplesMcDougle.com. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, all that. So all the social media, Facebook is the main one I
Okay.
do, but Instagram is the second one. I'll throw some on TikTok every now and then, but mainly Facebook and Instagram.
Listen, you
Please,
all, please,
please.
please support her. Get the book. She's an amazing woman. Your journey, your story is so inspiring. I am sure you have touched the
I
lives of others even
hope so.
before talking to me. Just being someone who can say, listen, if I did this without parents,
That's right. No
so can you.
excuses. No excuses.
No
Yep.
excuses, right? And so, anyone watching, if you have a story to tell about your trauma and how you transition to triumph, please make sure you DM us or go to my website, www.trauma2triumph.com. You can email me. The email is info@trauma2triumph.com. We always say experience is the best teacher. I don't disagree with that, but what I will take it a step further and
Yes,
say that wisdom, the wisdom that we gain through
ma'am.
our experiences, is actually the best teacher. And what we're doing, Sharon, with sharing our stories is leaving a legacy,
Yeah.
not a legacy of money. We're leaving a legacy of healing for those coming behind us that have been in similar
Yeah.
situations of life trauma. So again, I thank you. I thank everyone who tuned in again to another weekly episode of Trauma to Triumph. We are trying to get some more filming done in January. So those of you who have been sending in donations, I am so very grateful because I wouldn't have been able to do the filming that we've done so far without you all. My tribe has been amazing and I'm so thankful. The information to donate is on here. I also have a website where you can make it. It's very easy to donate through the website. So thank you again for all of your help, all of your prayers. And because you've been sharing this and you've been telling people about it, the word is getting out there. We are going to one day get Oprah's
You
attention with this
can have
project, y'all.
that.
I'm claiming
It's
it
gonna
right
happen. It's gonna happen.
now.
Because why?
Okay.
Because
It's
this is
going to
not your final
happen.
destination.
That's right, girl. I'm so happy that we have met. I'm so happy
Please,
that we will
please do.
stay connected now, Sharon. And again,
Thank you for having me.
thank you. This will stay up on my Instagram page, everybody. And in about an hour, it will be edited on my YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel, please go subscribe. It's Trauma2Triumph DOC. Thank y'all again for tuning in. I see my amazing husband on here, my friend Katrina. Y'all, thank y'all so much. And Sharon, we will talk soon. Enjoy the
Merry
rest of
Christmas.
your week. Happy
Yes.
holidays, early
Bye,
holidays
y'all.
to you.